3. Frankie's on the line from Uxbridge. Tell us what you think, Frankie.
Majid, thank you for talking about this issue. I just want to speak on behalf of the British public. We're absolutely sick to our stomachs of this. We've had enough. We see it as a Islamic ideology issue, a Muslim problem. The press don't call a spade anymore. We've got political correctness gone mad. We've got the press calling it an Asian problem when it's clearly a Muslim problem. We've got rapes increasing all over Europe, and that's obviously to do with the immigration of the Middle East coming into Europe.
Can I just mention something, Frankie?
Sure.
The reason I held this topic, clearing my throat. The reason I held this topic is precisely so that people like you could vent what is clear frustration and anger at the situation, and so that I could talk to you, because you may well, hearing from your frustration, you may well also have the view that it isn't being spoken about openly and frankly, and I would just ask you to pause and consider that the LBC presenter speaking about it openly is himself a British Pakistani Muslim, and the man responsible for convicting the most high-profile case of these grooming gangs was none other than also a British Pakistani Muslim, Nazir Afzal.
I know this.
So I'm just making an appeal, not directly to you, Frankie, to everyone listening as well, that we keep in mind that it's all of us on the side of secular democratic values against people that violate those values, and there are good people on both sides of that. Bad people on one side of that divide, and good people of all religions on the secular side of that divide as well.
Yes, you're quite right. But it's very difficult for the British people to be compassionate towards Muslims when they see that everywhere Islam goes, they're trying to dominate and change the societies that they move into. We've got Muslim women taking British companies and people to court because they're not allowing them to wear their burqas, and it's just, we're sick of it. If they're not integrating, the 4% that we've got here are causing massive issues. Imagine when the percentage increases and we've got more Muslims. We just feel like the British people are being silenced. We're not allowed. The media won't let us talk. We've got Sadiq Khan taking people to court on the internet for hate crimes, hate speech against Muslims. It's just absolutely gone crazy.
I mean,
the government
so Frankie, the important thing to remember is, I think part of the neglect has been that people like me and others, people that have a platform, what we need to start doing is openly and strongly advocating for democratic, secular, liberal values. And I think that helps with integration. What's been happening in the 90s with the doctrine that was known as multiculturalism is that we were celebrating our differences rather than celebrating what we had in common. So this British Pakistani Muslim has lots in common with someone like you and others in this country. But if we keep celebrating how we are different, then our communities grow together apart. And the better way to get integration and to get social cohesion is if we start instead celebrating the values we share. And I think that, of course, we still have differences, but if we start celebrating the values that we have in common and the values we share that make this country so great, that's a way to make sure that the glue that holds our society together, that the ideals, the social contract, if you like, that we all have and how we all live together based on those shared values get constantly reinforced. And I just worry that sometimes they weren't being reinforced enough in the 90s, in the period that is now known as kind of, the multiculturalism.
But can I just make a point?
Yeah.
Islam ideology does not mix with the British culture. It's like oil and water. They will never mix.
Well, I don't know if you can speak about Islam as one thing, Frankie, though. I think it's
you cannot come and live in Britain and hold concrete, tightly hold to your values. You have to adapt to our way. If you want to live in this country, why are we eating halal meat? British people don't want to eat halal.
You don't have to, Frankie. I'm sure you...
No, we do. It's not labelled. It's fed to our children at schools.
Well,
we have no choice.
So I think Frankie, listen. So just to please, I'm somebody addressing these issues, right? But my appeal to you will be, when you're speaking about it, it's important not to speak of Islam as a monolithic block of something that can't be read in different ways.
This is how we feel.
Yeah, I know, I understand that, which is why I'm addressing the topic.
Everybody is so angry.
Yeah.
We just want you all out. And when I say you, I mean Islam and the problem it's causing.
Yeah,
not
but
individual Muslims, because I know that they're good. But Islam is not welcome in Britain.
See, when I talk about reinforcing the values that we have in common, one of them, Frankie, I'm sure you'll agree, is freedom of religion.
And freedom of speech, and British people are being silenced and shut down.
Well, you're not. You're here on this radio station. No one's silencing you. But I'm asking you, is freedom of religion important to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we've got to devise together, people like you and me and others in this country, is a way to practice whatever religion somebody wants to practice that is in harmony with our values. And that's the reform that I speak about.
Actually, I think religion should be banned.
Well, then you don't believe in freedom of religion, do you?
Well, it's causing so many issues, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think I tell you what, Frankie, where you and I will part ways is I'm as secular as they come. Liberal values are what matter to me. The only thing I preach, if I preach anything at all, is a respect for secular, liberal, democratic values. But part of that for me is the right for somebody else to be a religious conservative in their own private life, and I won't want to ban that.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it's a difficult topic, so I'm split on my thoughts about it. But one thing I know is, from British person's perspective, Islam is causing huge issues in this country and now in Europe, and we don't want it. Go back to the Middle East and you cause your hell over there.
Yeah,
when you come to this country, you live by our rules and our ways. Don't try and change them.
Frankie, your words have consequences, and when you say we don't want you or go back to the Middle East, it's as bad as when an Islamist says something like, the West is decadent and full of debauchery and promiscuity. Words have consequences. And so when Islamists preach anti-Western stuff, you can see how the link between the hatred they're preaching, whether it's anti-Semitic or homophobic or, anti-woman, the hatred they're preaching and the behaviour of extremists who then act out that hatred, you can trace it back to hate speech. And what I'm asking you to do is consider that when you say we don't want you lot in this country, and then you say, as an afterthought, I don't mean you, Majid, but I mean the religion of Islam, I'm asking you just to consider that your own language has consequences as well. There's a way to speak about this topic which is a way that is sensible.
That's what everyone's doing. They're being pussyfooting around the issue and not calling a spade a spade.
All right.
Asians instead of Muslims.
Well, I haven't done that, Frankie. I haven't done that. And yet at the same time, I haven't said all you lot leave the country. I think there's a way to speak about it without being, preaching hate or inciting people against one community or another. Otherwise, you become part of the problem rather than part of the solution, and that's exactly what we're trying to address here. I understand you're angry, and a lot of people are angry because we haven't been speaking about this as openly as we should have. But you can't confuse the right to speak about it openly with bigotry. Speaking about it openly doesn't mean we start adopting bigotry when speaking ourselves. But guys, we're going to stick to this topic.